Hey y'all, it's Laura with Scattered Women. I am so glad that y'all can be here today. We have a very special guest with us. This is a coach that I actually had been working with last fall a little bit in one of her group programs, and she just offered to come on and talk with y'all a bit about the things that she's learned through her own journey to being a work-at-home mom. So we're just going to dive in and we're going to see how things go. So this is Melissa Ricker, and I'm just going to let you and tell people a little bit about who you are, what your life is like, and we'll get started there.
Sure. So thank you, first of all, for letting me come on and speak to your audience. I certainly appreciate it. So yeah, my name is Melissa Ricker. I am the founder of Engineered Motherhood. And just a little bit about me, I've been working for myself for 2.5 years, I think, I lose track, somewhere around that time. My background is actually engineering. I'm a nuclear engineer. We live just outside of Houston, a little north of Houston, and I have 2 sons. One is Jackson, who's 3, and Wesley, who's 1. They are too cute, and they know it. Yeah, so I've just been trying to balance this building a business and raising kids and doing it all, and I've learned a lot. I've come a long ways, and finally feel like I've got the vision and I'm heading there, so it's a good place to be, but obviously still learning a lot as we go. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. What else?
So talk to us a little bit about how you got to the place you are with your business, because you, like you said, you started in engineering, which is not at all like what you're doing now. Well, I guess it can be. And you kind of meld those together. So really talk us through how you made that transition and what it looked like to take this engineering life and move it into something that you could do at home.
Yeah. So yeah, of course. So I was, up until I left my job, I was actually an engineering manager. I was definitely on the fast track to the top, and that's always had been what I wanted. I always saw myself as this big corporate boss lady. And I was cruising there. Everything was good up until the day I had my child, because up until then, I mean, even like the day before I had him, like I just never saw myself as leaving the job, working from home or doing anything like that. Like that just wasn't even on my radar. And I was so focused on my vision that I thought was my vision, my long-term vision. But obviously that changed. And, I had a whole team working for me, and I was working the, 10, 12-hour days, getting phone calls at night. And, I remember after I came back from my maternity leave, like, not seeing him before I left, because I left freaking early in the morning, and then getting home just, a couple hours before he went to sleep. And we had an amazing nanny, but it was just like someone else was raising my child, and it wasn't okay. And I just felt myself like so torn that I couldn't focus on him or my career. So I finally, made the decision that, I could still be successful, because that was really important to me, to have my own income, to always have, my paycheck, and something that I could create and be and feel good about. So I decided I could have both. And I up and left my corporate job just 90 days after I started my business. And I've never looked back.
In your world.
Do what?
That number 90 is important in your world.
It is, and that's part of it. Like I see that recurring theme of 90. So yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that's kind of part of my brand is, how do you build a business as a busy mom? You can do it in 90 minutes a day. And that's about all I work in each of my businesses. I have a couple of businesses, and I work about 90 minutes a day in each of them. And that's all it takes.
Which is incredible that you can run 2 things at the same time. I mean, scattered woman. I've got all sorts of stuff going on. And you were the one that was like, okay, Laura, you got to rein this in. You need one thing, focus on one thing and get it down.
And I think that's where the engineering part translates over, is because that was how I was trained. And I wanted my, everyone to be very efficient and for myself to be very efficient. So I just kind of had that mentality, brought it to my business. That's why it's Engineered Motherhood.
Exactly. Exactly. It's amazing how the things from our past really show up in our businesses in a myriad of ways.
It is. And just how everybody's unique strengths can make their business theirs and make it successful. So
yeah. And that's why when I'm talking about coaching with moms who want to start these businesses, it's okay, let's talk about your personality. Let's talk about your history. Let's talk about all of the things that I did in career counseling that are now helping moms start businesses and figure out really what they want to do with that. Mm-hmm. And so you've got a lot of the same things going on where you were focusing on, productivity and getting things done in a very systematic way, having systems to get things done. And now you're able to share that with your clients to really help them master that side of the business.
Yeah, which often is the hardest part to master. They've we've all got the vision and the creativity part. It's often hard just to get it done.
Yeah. So tell us just a little bit more about your business and the mission and how your business has evolved over the last few years.
Yeah, so I've always wanted, I've always been big on financial empowerment for women. I watched my mom struggle with not having that financial empowerment, and I just, from the time I was very little, I just I was so dedicated to always being independent, always having my own paycheck, and because of that, that's what drove me to go and get a degree in nuclear engineering, and I went on to get my master's degree. And I was the first woman in my family to ever go into anything technical, and then the first woman in my family to ever hit six figures. And so just the amount of freedom that opens up to have that financial empowerment. And it's not to say money equals happiness. No, but money does open up a lot of doors for us to live a life that we want. And I know that because of the way that I came, and I always had that focus, is that's the reason I was able to, step away from my job and work to build something to replace it and have that kind of freedom to do that. So that's kind of what I think is now like my mission, is to empower other women the same way. I don't want to say the word hate, but I almost hate that when women are feel like they're backed into a corner and they end up, stuck in this position where they don't get to live the life that they want. And that doesn't mean that they have to come home, but it's just still they're not empowered financially enough to make the choices to have that freedom to be with their kids. And that's kind of my mission in my business, is to empower them with a paycheck so that they can make the decisions that feel good to them and feel right to them.
Yeah. And that's huge. That's huge to that you have choices. I know we've gone through a whole lot just in our family, and really when you don't have that income, there aren't a lot of choices, or you have to really make a lot of sacrifices to gain choices in other areas. And having that freedom, that's huge. That's huge.
It is. It absolutely is. And every woman deserves to have that, to be able to parent her children in the way that she wants to.
Yeah. And so few of us actually get to. I hear all the time from moms who either are home and want to be working, or more often moms who are working and just wish they could be home. They just wish something could change, that they could be available for their kids.
Yes. And also just to do something that they love, like that is theirs, and build something that makes them feel good instead of being trapped in a career or a job that they don't like. Absolutely.
I talked with my students all the time, career counseling, about making sure they were going to really like their job and not just like the paycheck, because the money's not worth it if you hate what you're doing.
It's not.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really, really hard. So talk to us a little bit about the biggest lessons you've learned about yourself through this whole process.
Oh my goodness. There's so many there, but just going back, like really, when I was an engineering manager, and I'm not proud of this, by the way, so I'm just going to say that now. But before I was a mom, I didn't understand. It didn't click to me, and so I can remember actually judging other women who were leaving their corporate careers to be with their kids, and obviously the irony there, right, is that. Yeah, obviously I left. I mean, the second I had the baby, I understood. So, I really just embraced the fact that, life is going to guide us on different journeys, and there's no right answers to any question, and there's no wrong answers either. So it's really about what feels right to you. And, at that time when I was an engineer, there was this huge ego thing for me. And it was so hard for me to leave a position of that kind of authority, where I was the woman in a male dominated field with people working, it was so hard for me to step away from it, even after I made the decision that I was going to. It was really hard for me to let go of that ego thing. And then again, I had this in my head, okay, I've got this master's degree hanging on my wall. Of course I can do an online business. Of course I can.
Right?
And then I get into it and I'm like, what the heck? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to be vulnerable. I don't know how, I don't know how to make this work. And it was very, at first discouraging. I went through kind of the emotional roller coaster, and it was just so humbling to me, those lessons that I learned, being an entrepreneur is the biggest self-development journey. So
yes,
getting getting the help when I needed it, getting someone who had done that before, a mentor. It was such a hard thing for me to do, and now I'm I need help, give it to me. Whenever I get hung up, it's I go and get help now. I don't have that ego thing anymore. So I'd say that's probably my biggest lesson that I've learned is, to get the help when I need it, and to get over myself. If I'm ever feeling entitled, which I don't anymore, but at the time, it was a process, right? Because I had worked so hard for what I had. And
right.
It's funny now that I look back and think about how rigid my mind used to be.
And you talked about how your identity was really wrapped up in your work. And I have a master's degree. I have this really high-powered job. This is who I am. And I think a lot of them have a hard time when they really want to be with their kids, taking that step away from something that has been their identity for so long. And now I'm home and I'm with my kids, and who am I? What am I doing?
And that's why, this is the perfect balance, because when even very, very part-time, even 30 minutes a day, up to 90 minutes or less, you can create something that feels really good for you, and make your, have your identity, but also be home with your kids. So it's been amazing for me, because I know for me, I need something that is mine, that I created, that I can be proud of, that I can set my goals and stretch myself. So you can have both worlds. It just, it does take a little intention, but you can. There's no reason you can't.
Absolutely. And if the Scattered Woman Crew people are listening and you are familiar with the personalities that I talk about all the time, read choleric all over this. Okay. The choleric personality types are the ones who are going to say, my identity is wrapped up in what I do and what I can accomplish. And we are driven to do something. And when we are not doing something, then we get really depressed and anxious because we don't know what to be doing with ourselves. There's nothing feeding that piece of our personality. So, for both Melissa and myself, we've got the choleric thing all over us. Must accomplish. Yes, yes, yes. So that's the biggest lesson you've learned is just that being able to ask for help when you need it and to say, this is who I am now, kind of that shift in identity. So what would be the one thing that you would do differently as if you had to start your business all over again? What would you do differently?
Definitely I would get the support earlier. It took me a long
Mhm.
time to get to that place where I was willing to have that support. And so I would definitely get that earlier. I would set up the systems and the automation way earlier.
Yeah.
And, get get a mentor. Like the fastest way to get from A to B is to find someone who's done it and to do what they did. And you can add your own flair and your own brand and all that. But it took me a lot longer than necessary to get my business off the ground.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, hindsight's 2020, but really, and not being afraid. The other thing is just not being afraid to speak your truth. I mean, I knew what I stood for, even back then, but I was so afraid of what people would think, how people would react, that I held myself back for so long. And it's like now it's so much easier and better for me, but I wish I would have pushed myself earlier to just say what I think, because it's my opinion and I'm allowed to have that, and you don't have to agree with it, and that's okay. In fact, that's perfect, because if we're not meant to work together, I don't want to work with you either. Like, there are the perfect people out there for all of us to work with. We don't have to step on our own mission or hide it just to get more people in the door, because it doesn't work that way anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm seeing that in my business too. The more that I speak out and just am who I am and unapologetically, the more things move forward for me, which has been really cool to see.
It really is, because you magnetize the people who identify with you, right? So
Right.
it's so important to just go ahead and put it out there, just do it.
Yes. Yes. And we've all got something that the world needs to hear from us. So it's just finding that thing and then being bold enough to step out and do it.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things that we'll be talking about on Scattered Woman over the next, I don't know, couple of months or so is really what our kids learn from watching us do that. So as you've got two little boys watching you working from home, what lessons are you really hoping they learn from you as they watch you while they grow up?
Well, I hope that they're learning to never give up on what it is that they want, because I think that they see that in me, that I have failed several times. There's been many months that my nanny made more than I did. So I hope that they can see that I keep showing up and trying and being consistent, and that they learn those lessons, that there's no magic button. No matter what it is that you want, whatever it is that they want, like there's no magic button. You just have to be willing to trust yourself, trusting in God's path for them, and show up and do the work. And if I can teach them anything, that I think that's what I would want to teach them, is to get what they want out of life, because it's too short not to.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said that as well, just listening for what God wants them to do and being willing to step into that. And God created them for a purpose, and they're seeing you pursue your purpose, which I think is awesome, especially for little boys. I think we tend to raise boys to say, I must go get the high-powered job, I must provide for family. And when they are maybe pursuing a path that doesn't pay as well, but they still want to support their families, well, then what? What do we do? And so they're watching you and know, okay, well, I could do something about that. I can change the way that I'm working, and I can adjust. And there's empowerment for them in that too, which is really cool.
Absolutely. That's my biggest wish for them, is to be happy and to get what they want.
To get what they want out of life. So as we're wrapping things up here, what would be the biggest piece of advice that you would give to a mom watching this right now that's saying, man, I think I might want to do this work at home thing? What's that one piece of advice you would give her?
the biggest piece of advice, this is how I start all my clients now, because again, hindsight 2020, is to really wrap your head around what it is that you want. And I'm not talking about just the amount of money or what you're going to do, but getting very clear on how much time do you want to spend in your business every day. What are your monthly income goals, and what if you get that income, or when you get that income, what is it going to do for your life? What doors is it going to open? And when you get really clear on that in the beginning, and I mean like really clear, then it makes everything else so much easier, because you can structure everything around it. A lot of people want to come in and they say, they're like, oh, I have this, they have all these ideas in their head, and they don't ever map them out, and that's why they never get done. And so when you can really get clear in the beginning, I want to make $5,000 a month, and I want to work 3 hours a day. Then, okay, now we've got something really great to work with, and we can structure all of your offers. We're going to map out where that money is going to come from and how to get there with those 3 hours a day. But unless you know all of that, it's really hard to put a system around it. And without a system, you're only going to, you absolutely can get your business off the ground without a system, but you can only take it so far. It's really hard to scale up without having that clarity. So if you are thinking about that you might want to do something like this, get a really clear idea about what you want, like that entire vision. What are you going to be able to do? How much money do you want to make each month? How much time you want to spend? And then we'll get into the details of what that's going to look like.
And this is the engineer talking, folks. So, she's all about systems and processes and making sure that you are getting what you want because you know that it can happen. So if you are struggling at all with productivity, wanting to make the best use of your time, Melissa's the woman you want to talk to. So she really helped kick my butt into shape with the last course that I did with her, and just making sure that I really knew what I wanted, like she was saying, and make it happen, make a plan and make it happen. And that has really changed a lot in how I work my business, which has been really cool. Really, really cool.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Very much.
I'm sorry, say again.
I said, thank you very much for that.
Yes, little plug. Talk to Melissa. All right. So do you have any parting thoughts for us? Anything that you want us to know about what's going on in your business, or anything that you would like to just share with the Scattered Woman crew before we hop off?
I wish I had it right now to send out to your viewers, but I am working on my latest freebie for you guys, and I'll be glad to send it over once it's done, hopefully in the next week or so. But I'm basically reverse engineering all of the systems and structures that I put into my business to help me get to the place where you can make those 10K months and beyond, and really start to scale your business. And I'm breaking it all down, giving you the exact framework of my business and the exact systems that I use that were running my business right now while I'm here talking to you, or when I'm out playing with my kids at the park. And so I'm be bundling that all up, and I'll be able to send that over soon to you.
Oh, wow.
That's what I've got going on. Yeah. But yeah, just as far as parting words, just I just want to encourage everybody to, that if you're not happy, and if you're not being fulfilled, if you're not happy, if you don't like the direction that your life is going, if you feel like you're not being able to show up as the mom that you want to be, like, really just pump the brakes a little bit and think about what it is that you want and how you can create it, because there's so many different ways to change our lives, and we're never stuck. It might take a little process to get you where you want to go, but there's always a path. And when the only time we're stuck is when we stick ourselves, when we let ourselves get bogged down with thinking and believing that we can't get out of it. So that's just my words of encouragement. It took me a while to learn that lesson, and I wish I could just, every time I talk to a mother who's in that position, I just want to reach through the phone and, but I just want you to know that there's always a way. There's always a way to make it happen.
Yep. I talk about that a lot. Where there's a will, there's a way. So let's figure out your will and let's figure out how to make it happen.
That's right.
Get that. So, quick update for the Scattered Woman crew from my end. We did the 7 steps to discover your perfect work at home mom idea or business idea a few weeks ago, and I was super, super sick. It was a mess all over the place, but we really came away from that saying, man, this is important. This is something that people need to hear and they need to understand. So we are doing that webinar again. And I will be sending out the link to sign up for that. If you are interested and want to hop on that webinar, shoot me a private message. I'll send you the link so that you can get on the list to get all the information on how to join that and when it's happening. But it is coming, and it is coming again soon. So stay tuned. Well, thank you so much, Melissa. I am so glad that you got to come and hang out with us, and that the Scattered Woman crew really got to be introduced to you and get to know you a little bit. If they want to find you and talk to you a little bit more as they move forward, where would be the best place to find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/engineered motherhood. That's engineered motherhood. And you can always just send me an email too if you just want to reach out to me. It's melissa@engineeredmotherhood.com. So that's probably the easiest way you can find me. You can also get a lot more information on my website, either at engineeredmotherhood.com or melissaricker.com.
I didn't know you had to. Very cool.
I just launched the second one, yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Melissa. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will say goodbye to the Scattered Woman crew, and we will talk to you all later. Bye, y'all.
Bye.